Hey, sports fans, welcome back to another episode of Bucky's Sports Show. This evening, we're going to discuss a busy week of Indiana State Sycamore athletics. Every fall sport had an event this week. A lot of good things happened. So let's jump into it. Let's get started with women's soccer. One of the not so good things here Wednesday night, Indiana State hosted IU Indy, and IU Indy came away with a 3-0 victory. Not a whole lot good happened here. Indiana State was only able to get off 7 shots on the entire game. Only 5 shots were on goal, compared to IU Indy. They got off 18 shots, 11 on goal. Just way too many shots allowed for IU Indy. You have to be able to control the ball and be able to get your shots off. And Indiana State was not able to do that Wednesday night. IU Indy did a nice job. Just a really tough loss. I really thought Indiana State would come in and compete a little better than what they did in this game. That was IU Indy's first win. Tough loss on the night. Today, though, Indiana State bounced back and hosted Western Illinois, and Indiana State came away with a 3-0 victory. And this is more of the Indiana State that I expected to see from the other night. Now, I was able to watch the second half of this game. I did not watch it total, complete 100% attention, but it was on. And Indiana State got all 3 of their goals in the first half. Tori Angelo, Addison Warner, and Skylar Cano. And Cano's was assisted by Kaylin Kluchurch. Just really bounced back. Indiana State had 27 shots, 13 of them on goal, to WIU's 3 and 1. Just a very good performance. Like I said, I had it on. I only saw the ball on Western Illinois' side of the field in the second half one time. Now, they had 2 shots, so I'm assuming they also had it a second time. Just a really nice performance out of Indiana State in this game. You know, like I talked about a minute ago, Indiana State was just able to control the possession of the ball. And when they did that, that was the difference in the game. They just did not allow Western Illinois to get anything going. Like I said, I saw the ball on Western Illinois' side of the field one time in 45 minutes. Again, they had 2 shots, so it had to be there at least 2 times. But it just seemed like anytime Western Illinois had the ball and an opportunity to advance it, Indiana State was reading the pass, knowing where it was going, getting a foot on it, breaking the pass up. Did a really nice job today. They improved their record to 2-3-1 so far on the season. And we will move on to our cross-country programs. Both men's and women's teams ran in the Fighting Illini Invitational. The teams in this consisted of Bradley, Indiana State, Illinois State, University of Illinois Chicago, Southern Illinois, Northern Illinois, and Chicago State. And the Indiana State women finished second in this invitational, actually finishing ahead of the host Illinois Illini. They did lose to Bradley. Bradley had a very nice performance. Indiana State had a great performance as well, but Bradley finished with 28 points to Indiana State 61. Illinois had 74, rounding out the top three there. But for Indiana State, the name we're going to talk about here is Emma Gresham. Now, Emma Gresham last year set the 4K all-time timing record for the cross-country team at 14 minutes, 14.8 seconds. Now, I'm mentioning that because Indiana State had 6 individuals beat that time in this 4K race. And Brittany Burak is the new school record holder with a 13 minutes, 44.4 seconds. As she finished 7th. Emma Gresham, she came in 9th at 13 minutes, 47.3 seconds. That's now 2nd in program history. Peyton Smith, she came in 14th. She is a 14-minute flat. That's now 3rd. Sawyer DeWitt, she came in at 14 minutes, 0.1 seconds for 4th in program. Grant, 14 minutes, 6.9 seconds. She finished 16th, but 5th in program history. And Hadley Gradoff finished 17th, 14 minutes, 9.2 seconds, 6th in history. All beating last year's time that was set as a school record. Really nice performance by them, finishing their 6th, and just very, very good performance. And not only that, but then you had Eve Scher and Hallie Miller both finished at 14 minutes, 30.6 seconds. That ties for ninth best in program history. And Allie Steffi with 14 minutes, 41.4 seconds, which is 16th best in program history. So a lot of ladies doing very impressive work. Camilla Gibson, 14 minutes, 57.1, not far off from making that list there. A lot of ladies doing a lot of good work for Sycamores cross country. Like I said, just a really nice day for them on the course. On the men's side of things, this one was not as good of a performance. Indiana State, they did finish 5th in this race. They were going against the same teams minus Northern Illinois. So they were running against Bradley, Illinois, University of Illinois, Chicago, Illinois State, Southern Illinois, and Chicago State. So they finished 5th. Again, Bradley won with 22 points, Illinois 61, UIC 74. Indiana State had 129 points. They did beat Southern Illinois, who is in the Missouri Valley as well. But when you run in these, I like to see Indiana State be a little more competitive with the Missouri Valley teams. They had Bradley, UIC, and Illinois State all finish in front of them in the Moval. Individually, though, Emerson Feynman did well. He was at 18 minutes, 6.8 seconds. He finished 12th overall. Pretty good performance there from him. Ryan York, He was at 1830.7. Mason Nobles 1830.3 or 34.3. Will Kozlowski 18 minutes 42.5. And Jasim Grant came in at 1854.4. And Chris Angeles was at 1855.7. Those were your scorers and alternate there. Again, you like to see those times a little better and finish a little bit better than some of the other Moval schools. But Feynman, he came in 12th. He had a nice performance. So first race, probably not the worst performance, but we will see definite improvement from the men's teams as the year goes on. Again, good performance from the women's teams in their season opener. Men, I'm sure, will improve as the year goes on. I'm sure the women will as well, but man, you set that many. You have 6 people break the previous school record. You did something right out of the gate. Just really good performance from them, and especially from Brittany Burrick, setting a new school record, and Emma Gresham too. I mean, just right behind her. Just fantastic performances from all the ladies there. Let's get into volleyball. Indiana State volleyball playing in the Bellarmine Classic, and they opened with Bellarmine. And this was a game that was on the Watch ESPN, so I was able to watch this. Indiana State struggled a little bit in their hitting percentages. Bellarmine took this 3-0. First set was 25-20. Second set was a very well-played set by Indiana State, 27-25. Bellarmine won that, though. And Bellarmine closed it out. And again, another really well-played set, 25-23. We'll get into some of that here in a minute, but Indiana State on the day, their hitting percentage was .087 to Bellarmine's .200. If you're gonna be competitive and win, you have got to have that be around 20% and not the 8.7% that Indiana State's hitting at. 115 attempts, 23 errors, and only 33 kills. That's just not good enough. Bellarmine, on the other hand, they had 120 attempts. They limited 18 errors to 42 kills. So they really just need to limit those hitting errors and probably service errors. They had 7 service errors. You need to see that a little lower. They did have 8 aces, but those service errors at 7, it's a little high. With that, though, Indiana State was led in kills by Kira Holland, Kimura Whetstone. She had 4 blocks. Emily Weber had 20 assists, and Emmy Schur had 12 digs. But again, looking at this in set 1, Indiana State had an 18-16 lead, and from there, it was Bellarmine. Bellarmine was able to score on an attack error. Then they had 2 kills, and then 2 more attack errors, and then Indiana State had a kill there to make it 23-20. But then, Bellarmine scores 2 more points to end it out. So here, 19-18, or really 18-16, and you can't close it out. Just kind of a tough set there. The second set, Indiana State came out, scored the first 3 points. And again, Indiana State, late in the set, they're up 2017. They got it to, they're even up 21-19. And they allowed 4 straight points from Bellarmine to give Bellarmine a 23-21 lead. They did come back at a couple more points, tied at 23. But again, with a 25-24 lead, they gave Bellarmine back the ball on a service error. And then Bellarmine got a kill, and then another attack error. So in the 3 points Bellarmine needed to win to close out the match, it was 2 errors by Indiana State that allowed that set to go to Bellarmine. In the third set, this is probably the worst. Indiana State had a 16-9 lead. They allowed it to get to 16-14, and then Indiana State scored the next 2 to go up 18-14. And then they allowed 5 straight points to Bellarmine for them to take a 19-18 lead. Indiana State then scored 3 to take a 21-19 lead. They're up 22-21 again. They tied it at 23 to get the serve, to chance to close it out. They just could not close out a set on this day. They have got to learn, when you got someone down, you got to stomp on the throat and put them away. You cannot give teams back the ball with service errors, attack errors. They're going to happen, but you've got to put your foot on the throat and just absolutely just kill a team. You gotta have that killer instinct, and hopefully this is one that they can learn from in practice this week. Go back and watch, because if they can close that out, that would have been a really solid win for them. Later that evening, they came back to play SIU Edwardsville. And this one went 5 sets, and Indiana State came away with a 3-2 victory in this game. You know, I just talked about hitting percentage and where it needed to be. They were at 27.1% in this game compared to the 8% they were the first one. So they did a better job of finding the floor, or at least not having errors. It still had some errors, but when you look at the 5th set, 22 attempts, no errors, 10 kills. So that hitting percentage of 45%. When you look at SIU Edwardsville, they had 26 attempts, 4 errors, 10 kills. For 23%, and that was your difference in that set right there. Indiana State did a really nice job of cleaning that up. Indiana State was led in kills by Kira Holland. Kimora Whetstone, again, had 4 blocks. Emily Weber had 31 assists. And Hadley Harderson have 15 digs. Indiana State did a nice job. I got out to a 4-1 lead, 6-2 lead. Won this one 25-17. Once they took the lead, they had that instinct I was talking about a minute ago. 25-17, didn't let them back in it. So really nice job there in set 1. Set 2, again, this set kind of started off with back and forth points. Indiana State was able to take a 14-12 lead, and then allowed SIU to actually take a 17-15 lead. And what I talked about there with Indiana State in the first game of the day, SIU Edwardsville kind of struggled with here. The SIU Edwardsville were up 2018, and they allowed Indiana State to score 5 straight points to take a 23-20 lead. Again, though, up 23-20, you kind of want to see that get closed. Up 24-22, you want to see that get closed. But at 24-24, SIU Edwardsville was able to get a point off of an attack error by Indiana State. But Indiana State found a way to get 3 straight points. The first one was on a service error by SIUE, then a kill by Holland, and then a service ace. So they were able to win set 2, 27-25. Set 3, this one went to SIU Edwardsville, 25-22. Again, the start of these sets are kind of going back and forth point wise. A couple of points for SIU to start. Sycamores answer with 3. Then SIUE answers with a couple, Indiana State, and they just kind of keep going back and forth. But SIU built a 14-11 lead, and from there, SIU would rattle off 6 straight points to take a 20-11 lead. The Sycamores didn't give up. That lead stretched to 22-13. Indiana State scored 3 in a row, make it 22-16. SIU scored 23-16, and Indiana State scored 4 more, make it 23-20. SIU scored 1, make it 24-20. Indiana State scored a couple more, make it 24-22. So really, when you're down 20-11, you could really just say, okay, we're going to live to play another day. Just kind of throw in the towel. Indiana State did not do that. They fought to make this a 25-22 set and made SIUE work hard for it. The fourth set, again, this is another one that Indiana State could not close out. They had a 20-16 lead. SIU scored 6 straight points to take a 22-20 lead. From there, it kind of went back and forth, and SIU came out with the 27-25 victory there. And the fifth set, which we've talked about a little bit already, was kind of Indiana State just all the way. They scored the first 4 points. SIU answered with a couple. Indiana State got a couple. But when it was 8-6, Indiana State scored 3 in a row, make it 11-6. And that's kind of when that fifth set there only goes to first to 15. So you really, when it's 11-6, you've really put that away. And at 14-8, SIU tried put up one last ditch effort fight. They scored 3 in a row to get to 11, and that's when Ava Robart put a kill away to make it a 15-11 set win. Again, Indiana State with the 3-2 victory, their first win on the year, and this is a team that they're gonna see next week. Miami of Ohio, they went 3-0 in this tournament. They are 3-0 on the year. They just absolutely dominated this match. Again, you talk about hitting percentage. Miami, Ohio, they were 41% to Indiana State's 19%. Just a really, really nice performance by Miami of Ohio. I will talk about one person there. here in a minute. Indiana State, though, their leaders, Kira Holland had 12 kills. Ella Scott had 3 blocks. Emily Weber, 17 assists. And Macy Longacre had 8 digs. The set 1, this went to Miami of Ohio, 25-21. Indiana State battled, but really just kind of struggled. They got down 7-2, 11-5, 15-7. But they did come back, make it 25 or 23-21, and then Miami scored the next 2 points to win that set. Again, set 2 at 5-5, Miami rolled off 5 points in a row, take a 10-5 lead. Then at 11-7, they rattled off 4 more points in a row. At 16-9, they rattled off 4 more. This one, it was all Miami. They won the set 25-15. In set 3, at 15-13, Miami leading, they rattled off 5 straight points to make it 20-13. Indiana State scored a couple more, 2 or 3 more, to break up a couple of runs to where just holding them to 2 points, but couldn't sustain a huge rally and lost this set 25-16. They've seen better days, but going back to someone on Miami of Ohio, I wanted to talk about was Gentry Warwick. Gentry Warwick played high school volleyball at Linton Stockton Catholic down the road from me. I jokingly say Catholic because at one point in time she was a Shackamack student that transferred over to Linton, and she just absolutely dominated Indiana State at the net. She led Miami of Ohio with six blocks. Really, really good day for her. She ended up with 11 points, which was second on the team. So she had a very, very good day. And while I don't like Linton, it is good to see local kids stand out. And she is a fantastic person. Got to know her in her time she was at Shackamack and was playing sports there at Shackamack. So glad to see her do well, even if it was at the expense of the Sycamores. Moving on to football. Okay, so football had their home opener against McKendree. Indiana State won this game 41-24. This was the first opening game win that Indiana State has had since 2022. And this was a sloppy game. They had too many penalties and too many turnovers or near turnovers. There were times Indiana State almost looked like they were in slow motion in this game. There's one play in particular they moved a wide receiver in motion before the snap, and he was just kind of moving at a pace to where when the snap occurred, it hit him, and Indiana State lost the ball on the fumble, which gave McKendree a really nice spot in Indiana State's side of the field to start their possession. So they are going to have to clean that up. Now, with that being said, though, Elijah Owens, quarterback, he went 19 for 27, 250 yards, 2 TDs, interception. His long pass, 75-yarder. But a couple of people here that had really nice performances. Ples Lawrence was someone that really impressed me. He had 133 yards on the day. 21 attempts, 133 yards on the day, 2 touchdowns. His long was a 26-yard run. A solid there. Elijah Owens, he had 22 attempts. He ran for 62 yards. His long was 13. The rushing, they netted 272. Unfortunately, they had 71 yards lost. So they only actually got 201 yards rushing, but a really solid game there. But Ples Lawrence, not only to go with his 133-yard rushing, he had 4 receptions for 92 yards, a touchdown, and the 75-yarder was to Ples Lawrence. He ran incredibly well. Again, just really solid. I liked what I saw out of him. If they can keep feeding him, they could win some more games this year than they did last. But some receiving here, Rashad Rochelle, 48 yards, and Lance Reese, 46 yards. They both joined Ples Lawrence with having four total receptions to lead the Sycamores there in that. So really, it was a pretty solid performance offensively. Again, though, they have got to clean things up. Just way too many turnovers. The biggest problem that they're going to have is McKendree is a Division II school, so they're a step below what Indiana State is. But when you look, their first possession, Indiana State went 5 plays, 25 yards, and they got a field goal. The next possession, they threw 1 play, and it was intercepted. And then the following drive, they went 14 plays, 53 yards, and that ended in a field goal attempt. It was missed. Then they went the next drive, 10 plays, 72 yards for a touchdown. Then 6 plays, 16 yards, field goal. And then they had the 1 play, -4 yards, which was lost on a fumble. That was the play I was talking about where they gave the ball up on their own 19-yard line. So McKendree started in the red zone on that. Then the next series, they went 6 plays. They lost 17 yards in that series. And then ended up being a safety. They snapped the ball over the punter's head, and it went out of the end zone. Next series, 4 plays, -4 yards, punt. And then they went 8 plays, 77 for a touchdown, 12, 43 yards for a touchdown, 2 plays, 88 yards, touchdown. That was the 75-yard pass play. They went 3 and out, 3 plays, 5 yards, punt, 10 plays, 73 yards, touchdown, and then they took a knee on the final when they got the ball back and ended the game with 1 play, -1 yard. But they have got their times of possession in some of these. When you look at that, it has got to, they have to control the ball better and keep it longer. Now, obviously, when you go 2 plays, 88 yards for a touchdown, you'll take the 37 seconds. But what you can't have is a minute 34, 6 seconds, and an INT, 6 seconds, fumble, 6 plays, 58 seconds, and a safety. It's just a minute 57 punt. They have got to get to where they're holding the ball for at least 2.5, 3 minutes. And when you look at the time of possession here, minute 34, 6 minutes, 4:43, 3:53, 2:13, 6 seconds, 58, minute 35, 3:08, 4:15, 37, 1:57, 3:54, 30 seconds. Again, that last 30 seconds though was because they took a knee and there's only 30 seconds left on the clock. So eliminate that one. But they have got to do a better job of controlling the ball because they have got a lot better schedule coming up here than what McKendree was. They have Eastern Illinois coming Saturday at home, and then their schedule after that gets brutal. They play Indiana, who's a top 20 team in FBS. Montana's ranked in the FCS. Southern Illinois is ranked in the FCS. South Dakota's number 1 in the FCS, or were. North Dakota State's ranked. North Dakota's ranked. Illinois State. Just really, really good schedule coming up. So you'd like to see them clean things up before the Eastern Illinois game on Saturday and be able to control that ball a lot better. Next week, women's soccer. They play at Eastern Illinois on Thursday, and then they return home on Sunday to play Southeast Missouri State. Cross country's not in action again until September 20th when they host the John McNichols Invitational. Volleyball will be at the Northern Illinois tournament on Friday and Saturday next week. Their first game is against SIU Edwardsville on Friday, and then their second game Friday is against the host Northern Illinois. Then on Saturday, they will finish against Merrimack. So hopefully they can get a couple wins there, if not all 3. We'll be really interested to see what difference SIUE and ISU have after just playing each other last week to face off against each other again. Then football, like I talked about, Eastern Illinois at home Saturday, 1 p.m. And then that schedule gets brutal, so hopefully they can come out and get a win there. But with that, though, that will wrap up this episode. If you got anything you want me to talk about, email me at buckysportsshow@gmail.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and we will see you next time. As always, enjoy the games and go Sycamores!